G'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. This week we have a few challenges as we get caught out with bad weather in Chapman's Pool and we find ourselves thrust out into the huge overfalls against the tide. We take on Portland Bill and have a spicy sail to Dartmouth, and Tony gets to grips with the auto helm. Hi, we are Sally and Tony, a couple of middle-aged Aussies who have decided to combine our passions with our work on our 2004 Oyster 56 called Osprey. We intend to sail as many oceans for as long as we're able and to create a network of friends and crew to join us on board as we sail the world in search of adventure. If you saw our last video, you'd know that we're now inviting people to come sailing with us. So if you'd like to join us in the Med this year, jump on board to the website ospreysailingadventures.com. All the information's there. Chapman's Pool is absolutely stunning, and as we had anchored up for the evening, I started to plan our travels for the next day. We were heading to Dartmouth, which was about 45 miles, and for fairly good sail for us, certainly the biggest sail that we'd ever done. So Chapman's Pool is very small. There's only room for really one boat, and we were anchored in about 2 to 3 meters, and just beautiful, really, really lovely. The forecast was due to change for the following evening, so I had hoped that we would get away early, get off to Dartmouth and miss the worst of the southwesterly that was due to come in. But of course, as always, these things happen. The forecast came in really early and we were woken up at 4 a.m. by the 25 knots suddenly blowing in. It literally went from nothing to 25 knots. So at that point in time we had about half a metre under the keel. Not ideal, and but we were holding well, so we didn't get to go back to bed, but sat up and watched the weather, and it was pretty stable. The forecast was due for the weather to abate, so we thought, you know what, while we're sitting here, we're ready to go. We'll just wait it out. If anything changes, we can go very quickly. Our fallback plan was to head to Poole, which was only 5 miles around the corner. Then at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the rudder tapped a rogue rock, and that was it for me. No, we definitely got to go. Well, the weather wasn't showing much signs of abating, so we were thinking of leaving anyway, and that was the last stroke for me. So we pulled up the anchor. Now Tony was taking what seemed to be like forever to get the anchor up, and holding the boat in the wind in this very, very small space. Was challenging to hold the boat there. Anyway, he comes back into the cockpit somewhat flustered, plonks himself down, and we head on out. Now, had he spoken to me about his problems, I would not have headed left and gone into the overfalls. The tide was wrong, we had the wind against us, and the waves were huge. I would have headed right and allowed us some more sea time to fix the problem. More on that later. So we go through the overfalls. The boat is rocking and rolling. We've only got 4 or 5 miles to go, and the overfalls are only about for a mile. So I thought, no, you know what, we'll just ride it out. So we rolled around, and it was a bit of fun. I wanted to see how the boat managed it, and we literally did roll gunnel to gunnel. Much to Tony's horror, I left him steering and headed down below just to see how things were handling, make sure all our cupboards were safe and that nothing was flying around. So there was a bit of a problem with the flour. The lid had come off and a few spoons of flour had emptied itself into the locker. The flare container, which was sitting under the companionway, had flown out, and the dishwasher hadn't been locked close, so it had flown in and out a few times. Other than that, everything else stayed put and all was fairly quiet down below. Amazingly, the crystal glasses survived the extreme pitching and rolling, and none of us were seasick. So it was as we came round into Sutherland Bay to put the anchor down that was when Tony decided to tell me about the problems with the anchor. What had happened was, as far as he was concerned, the winch had broken and he'd had to hand pull up the anchor and the chain in one hit. So about the last metre or two of chain he couldn't get up, he had to pull it up. So then he's tied it all up with a piece of rope because he couldn't get the safety pin in. In the process, of course, pulling it all up and trying to hold the boat in position and the swell that was then encroaching into the bay, the anchor had dinged the front of the boat, and he was so cranky about that he forgot to actually tell me that there was a problem with the anchor. So he had told me that it dinged the bow, but he didn't tell me about the winch. So we come into Studland Bay to put the anchor down, and he then tells me that we can't anchor because the winch is broken. So by this stage the weather has closed in, the rain is pouring down, it's just absolutely miserable, freezing cold. We had no choice, we had to head into Poole Harbour and hope to try and find a jetty that we could tie up alongside for the night, because at that point, you know, the only other alternative was to go back to Lymington, and I certainly didn't want to do that. So we managed to find our way into Poole Harbour, tied up into the jetty. No sooner had we tied up than I went to check the anchor to find out what was going on, and noticed a complete rookie error. Tony, not knowing that the anchor winch has a handle to tighten it up, the gypsy had come loose with the volume of chain that we were pulling up, and it would have been a simple thing to fix, just to put the winch handle on and tighten it up, but he had thought that it had broken. Knowing each other's skills and knowledge is so important, and getting the boat through the rough stuff was easy, but no real problem. This boat can handle anything, and we can both steer through big seas. Working out who knows what about each piece of equipment is a daily learning experience for us. We thoroughly enjoyed Chapman's Pool, as we prefer remote locations to marinas and towns, but the anchoring is a challenge for a big boat, and you need to be ready to leave if the situation changes. For weeks my dad had been talking to me about Portland Bill, making sure that I'd studied up on it and was aware of just how dangerous it can be. Here the tidal streams can reach 7 knots, and the infamous Portland race turns the sea into a boiling cauldron of standing waves and overfalls. Miscalculate your timing and you'll be fighting fierce currents or trapped in chaos, especially when the wind opposes tide. Nothing like what we'd had the day before, it would be 100 times worse. Having sailed back 15 miles in the wrong direction, it now meant that our sail to Dartmouth was going to be over 75 miles, which is a big sail for a day. Plus we also had to factor in getting past Portland Bill at the right time of the day, so that meant we left very early in the morning. Get the timing right with Portland Bill and you will enjoy a beautiful sail past the Jurassic coast. What's that banging?
Spinnaker.
The spinnaker? We haven't got one.
Yeah, the preventer.
Oh, the preventer. There's no spinnaker out there. So what's your thoughts on today's sail so far, Tony?
Best day.
Best day? It's freezing cold.
We've had a proper day's
Rainy.
sail. Virtually sailed for a day.
You mean you've had to battle squalls, cold weather, breaking gear?
We haven't broken anything.
What about the sheet that got wrapped around the jockey pole, the pin?
Broken pin, that's all.
Yeah, pin. Maybe. Well, we can't get the spinnaker poles out because they seem to be seized on, which has made our day longer because we can't sail dead square. But yes, we've had, what have we done, about 75 miles today? We had about another hour to go.
Brilliant day.
Brilliant day. Radio. Only a mad Englishman could say that. It is just bitterly cold. I've got my, there you go, look at that. I've got my shark skin diving gloves on there just to keep my hands warm. And this is my third set of gloves today. Finally gone to the diving gloves.
Get some decent gloves like these.
Oh yes, they're the ones that don't allow you to take the auto helm off.
Proper gill.
There he was, the numbnut.
Warm all day.
Jumped to the wheel in a moment of terror
All day, one pair of gloves.
to steer the boat because it was all going to poo. And he was steering against the auto helm because he pressed the button properly.
Well,
I was down below and he was going, Sally, Sally! And I rushed up to save him from whatever it was panicking from.
I wondered whether something was down there.
Well, what were you calling me on deck then?
I wasn't, I was just getting irritated.
No, it wasn't. There was a pot in the way. You were going to hit a pot.
No, I could not control. I wondered why something wasn't working. I thought the auto helm was off.
You were squealing. And I took the wheel and I went, the rudder's not working. The auto helm's still
There's
on.
an auto helm down there as well.
Yeah, but they talk to each other. Anyway, that was quite funny. It was about this point that Tony headed down below to warm up and decides to take the opportunity to get more understanding of the instruments. I'm keeping watch in the cockpit, huddled under the Dodger with my feet in the companionway, trying to get some warmth from below, when I hear the instruments alarm go off. I looked below at the chart plotter and the screen is screaming that the auto helm is switched off. No one is steering the boat. In my panic to get to the wheel, I banged my knee on the cockpit fridge. The pain was insane. Once I turned the auto helm back on, I advised Tony that fiddling with the instruments was not a great idea. He had no idea that he'd turned the auto helm off from down below whilst playing with the chart plotter. My knee took about half an hour to return to normal. Now the sun comes out. Oh, beautiful Dartmouth. So pretty. Here we are on the Fisherman's Wharf, because it's the only place they can put us. And it is blowing an absolute hoolie. You probably can't see it on the video, but coming into this wharf, I had 40 knots at one point, spinning us round. But it is absolutely howling. So we gave up on the anchorage because we had the anchor in 17 metres and the rudder was sitting on 1.5 metres. And it was just swinging us round 180 degrees with bullets coming down through the hills. So we thought, no, come into town, find ourselves somewhere nice and tidy to stay up. So tonight we're going to move back over there to the town quay, where you can stay overnight, and then we'll see what tomorrow brings. But we've got this weather for get some beers, because Tony's run out of beer. Oh yeah, that sounds good. Tony's now taking up his residence space. You want a beer? Yeah, right. I think I need a gin and tonic after that last one. Berthing the boat in 35 knots. We could put the dinghy in the water, darling. We haven't done that yet. We've been on board 5 weeks and we have not put the dinghy in the water yet. We were going to do it today. I don't think you're going to do it either. I think you buggered that one up, my dear. Put your right clip in. Have you got the right one? One of the 27 million, yeah, I think you might have to cut all the others off. It's a bit weird.
Well, it has gone in this time.
Yeah. No, it doesn't need any choke. Don't give it any choke.
A tiny bit.
You'll flood it.
A tiny bit. Oh.
Let's go home fast, baby.
No?
No need to go home.
Oh, we'll go for the ride if you like.
I'm just going to cut up the river for Ben.
Oh, we've got a little pup. You think we hit something?
Oh, I think we're just shallow.
Did we chop up a fish? Can't be that
No.
shallow. Look at the size of the boats that are in
Well, I'm
here.
looking, but it's low water. I think we've probably got the channel there. Hit there, look.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we did. There may not be one. It may be. She's so dirty from all the fenders rubbing the other day.
Right down to...
Come right round the bow, come right round the chain. Yeah, that's a big ding.
Move yourself.
There's so much for the pull cord.
Did nothing.
Didn't even.
It's good safety, isn't it?
Didn't even pull out. Here we go. Only tying his
Good old
ropes
Sammy.
on.
No use as crew at all.
No, no, darling, I'm the skipper. You know, skippers, they just have to sit there and
I know what skippers
sit there and look lovely.
Yeah, you hold that.
I'll hold that for you. How about that?
Well, that kill cord did nothing.
That was quite funny. Oh dear. I'll laugh a minute. Huh?
You stay where you are.
Oh, I'm quite happy sitting where I am. Next time the sun finally comes out, just in time for my 85-year-old parents to join us along with one of our sons. We explore the beautiful harbours of Dartmouth and Salcombe,
You and Tony very seldom sing off the same key sheet.
taking in the sights and soaking up the atmosphere. Tony takes the helm and steers us into the harbour for the first time, in only the way Tony can. But it's not all smooth sailing. We find a serious crack in our custom-made water strainer, and if it suddenly breaks, it could be a real disaster. This is one you don't want to miss. But what about the other side underneath?
It's not what I don't say.
No, I don't think so.
It's ready to go. It's ready to go. It's not good. That's Really important to get that replaced. ASAP. Alright.